the time? Where does it go? So much to craft, so much to sew.
Good morning, gifted crafters. It's crafting time.
I swear I can sew a straight line. Got me my buddy who can do it in no time. Hit the pedal to the metal, watch the stitches fly. That's my buddy, it's always by my side. So here's to my buddy, it's just me and my machine. Stitching our dreams, yeah, we make quite a team. Together we stitch, yeah, together we mend. Nothing is better than my sewing friend. So let me sew to my heart's content, stitching away till the fabric gets spent. Hypnotized, up and down the needle goes. Thread leaves the bobbin, so does my woes. So here's to my buddy, it's just me and my machine. Stitching our dreams, yeah, we make quite a team. Together we stitch, yeah, together we mend. Nothing is better than my sewing friend. There ain't a rip or torn my buddy can't fix. Keep it well oiled, a little TLC, that's the trick. Life with no machine, wouldn't know what to do. Take care of it, he'll take care of you too. So here's to my buddy, it's just me and my machine. Stitching up dreams, yeah, we make quite a team. Together we stitch, yeah, together we mend. Nothing is better than my sewing friend.
Live from the Sunshine State in Miami, Florida, here is the Gifted Crafters Morning Show with Nancy.
Good time. Ooh, time to get our craft on. Ooh, time to have fun. Ooh, time to feel good.
Good morning, Gifted Crafters, and welcome back to the Gifted Crafters Morning Show. Good morning out there. All righty, I see everyone in the chat just chatting away, and good morning. We've got people from Michigan, East Texas. Awesome. Let's see here. Oh boy, lots of good mornings. Good morning. Let me know where you're from. Awesome. There's my friends from Canada. Thank you for joining. All righty. Wonderful. Maryland, Texas, East Texas. A lot of people from Texas. Awesome. All righty. Well, thank you, Lily, Evelyn, Sue, Becky, Robin. Gosh, Marge, Faker McFake, Lisa, Chrissa, thank you all. Just Susie's Thoughts. I like that name. Thanks for joining. Melissa, Quilting with Harriet. Hey, how are you? Good morning. Sue, Robin. Awesome. Thank you all for tuning in. We've got Louisiana, Alabama in the house. Awesome. Yay. Wisconsin. All righty. Wonderful. And San Antonio, Texas, and Ohio. Hey, Barbara. Hey, Barbara, got your email. Just, I answered you, sometime between last night and this morning. But I hope that really helps. Let me know if you need more information, and I will be happy to get that over to you. Alrighty, wonderful. Well, today is Happy Hump Day, guys. Woohoo! We are almost there. We're right smack in the middle of the week and we're ready to get going. Thank you all again for tuning in. I really appreciate all the love and support that you guys give me. It's really amazing. And I just like taking you on this journey with me and doing all my sewing projects. And, you know, while I'm doing this, why not share it with you guys? And we can share all kinds of tips and tricks because I really love it. Alrighty, you're from Maryland too, and it's your first time here. Awesome. Thank you for catching us in the live. And guys, we've got our really nice committee here. Guys, go ahead and give Just Susie's Thoughts a nice big welcome. And thank you for tuning in. I hope you really enjoy the little content that we have here. Our gifted crafters are just amazing. This group is really happy to have you here, and we share all kinds of tips, tricks, ideas, anything you can think of. We got it. If you're stuck on something, this is the perfect place to ask because we are nice and friendly here. Okay, so now what do we have this week? Well, guys, I can tell you I was pretty busy last night stitching, so I've got a lot of it done. Not yet. And for those of you who are new, we are working on the Holly Jolly Christmas quilt. This is a Designs by Juju that you can do, and this is a embroidery. And we've got our desk cam here, guys. I'm still kind of getting used to the desk cam here, but here it is. It's the Holly Jolly Christmas quilt. It's Designs by Juju, and this is an embroidery project that you can do on a 5x7 hoop. So you don't need one of those big fancy machines here, right? And of course, I'm doing it on my Brother SC 1900, and I'm kind of putting my own little flair on here. So it's coming out just a little bit different than what's on the printout here. And we've kind of gone through all of the steps here. We're towards the tail end of the project. And as we've gone along the project, I've kind of given out different tips and things like that that you can do. So I think now we are we are definitely in the hardest part of the project, I would have to think, which is the assembly part, where you now have stitched everything out, all your embroidery work is done, and you're starting to piece the whole thing together. Lining it up and getting it to come out just right is a little bit tough because the project does have a lot of bulk behind it, right? We've got 2 layers of wash away back there. We've got that layer of batting, and then of course you have your fabric and all of the thread that's in between, right? So yeah, definitely. Oh, do we have a birthday? Yes, we do. Today is my sister's birthday, and I believe I just saw her get on. Oh, there she is. Yes. So happy birthday to my sister. That's Jeanette for Requesting and Crafts. So happy birthday. I hope you're going to have a fantastic day. She recently retired, so she's just in her craft room full time now. So jealous. So yay, everyone. Let's give our big happy birthday crew out there. Alrighty, guys, first things first, before we get into more of the project and all of the steps and whatnot, let's go ahead and raise our little glasses. So if you're here for the first time, we like to have our little morning toast. So go ahead and grab your favorite drink of whatever it is you have in the morning. No judgment here. Coffee, tea, water, whatever it is you have that makes you happy. Go ahead and give a little toast to you. And everyone just kind of get a little sip and get in your cozy spot because the next hour is just all about having fun. So let me just grab a little sip here. Maybe grabbed 1 or 2. And I think that today we're going to have our little food cart, right? Because we've got to get our little exercise. We've been, you know, munching away on our food truck, but we need our food cart today. So I think it's coming down the block. There it is. Here's our little food cart, guys. Of course, it has everything. And we have a special birthday cake today in the food cart. So grab yourself a slice. because it's my sister's birthday, so we need to go ahead and grab that birthday cake slice and celebrate with her. Okay, so go ahead and grab that. It's got all the snacks that you like. They're totally free and of course calorie free too. So grab all your snacks, grab your favorite drink, get yourself in your little cozy chair, and we're gonna be on our way. Alrighty. Oh, that felt really good. Always good to have a nice glass of water in the morning. Okay, so here we go. Guys, we've got the Holly Jolly Christmas quilts, and like I said, I've been stitching last night, and I have to be honest, there were a few times where I needed my little seam ripper, and I did have to kind of undo because it didn't catch exactly where I wanted it to be. So it was a little tough. The bulk in the project is a little difficult to maneuver. It was a little more than what I was expecting it to be. So it made it a little bit hard. And I guess with time that will soften. Of course, when it goes in the wash and things like that, it'll soften up. It did soften quite a bit once I ironed it. But yeah, it was a little rough. Let me just show you here. I've got the very first row here. Got threads everywhere. Here we go. Okay, this is the first row that I was able to kind of do. Let me try to move my little design board out of the way here so I can lay this flat. Here we are. So here's the first row right here. That's what we started sewing yesterday. And then I continued on with the first row of the actual blocks with the sashing in between. And then I did another row yesterday of just sashing. And so today we're going to continue it. We're going to do that second row here, and I've got my pieces kind of laid out here on my design board. We're just going to kind of continue that on. But I can tell you that kind of just lining this up was a little challenging. The bulk here that's behind this is really, really tough, because what I ended up doing is I took my duck scissors, and let me just grab those so I can show you. I did take my duck scissors and I went behind here and I kind of removed as much batting as I could up to the stitch line if I could. And I kind of got in there and did as much as I could, especially on the sides that were being stitched. So these side pieces right here, which you can't see them because they are stitched already, but I went ahead and I removed as much as I could of the batting as well as the wash away here. Okay, so this was a little challenging for me because of that bulk, and my machine was able to handle it, but I did have to really kind of give it a little bit of a push. So if you don't have a heavy duty machine, most likely you're going to have to use your walking foot to get this going so that the feet dogs from the bottom and from the top are going to be able to pull this through. The red fabric really sets the design off. Yeah, I think so too, Barbara. Yeah, it's just such a difference. I really think it really makes a big difference. I really love that red in regards to the sashing. We did have another fabric that was a lighter green, but it was kind of a busy background, and with the embroidery work of the little snowflakes, it just became a little lost, and it really didn't do it for me. So I was really happy that I made the change, and I really think that this combination really makes it look better, and you know, it's more Christmassy, right? I think it really works out well. So, you know, I had that challenge where all that bulk was kind of really getting in the way. So I did go back and like I said, I took my duck scissors, and for the pieces that I have now, even, you know, I kind of went back in here and go ahead and fold back your red fabric. That way you make sure that it's out of the way and you're not going to cut that, right? You're only cutting the batting along with the wash away. And let me move over here so you guys can see this a little better. So on here, this is what I'm kind of cutting off. And so I would just come back in here as close as I can and just kind of cut that piece off. Be very careful that you do not cut that red fabric, right? You only want to cut the batting and the wash away. It helps with the bulk. Now remember, where you're stitching, let me grab my little pointer here. Your stitching is not going to be on the outside here. You're actually stitching right on that bulk, okay? You are stitching in between these two stitch lines. And let me get this thing to focus here. There we go. Those are the two stitch lines. You see your outer, which is your placement line, right? And then you have the inner line. So you're stitching in between that tiny little line, like right in between those two. That's where you want to capture it. So it's kind of hard here to see that, but I think you can see, because I'm using white thread, you can see the two lines right there. Okay, and so that's where you want to stitch. And it is a lot of bulk. It's a lot of bulk in between there. You've got that wash away. I'm sorry, you have the batting in here. That is cotton batting, so in itself is already bulky. Plus you have the fabric itself, and then you have the two layers of the no-show mesh, right? So a lot of bulk there. Your machine needs to be able to handle that. But if you have issues with that and you don't have a heavy-duty machine, take out your walking foot, because you're going to need it to be able to kind of get through that. The other thing that I would also recommend on your sewing foot, when you're kind of going through the bulk, if your sewing foot is not sewing horizontally and you end up meeting the fabric and your foot is kind of angled up, you're going to have jump stitches. So you don't want your sewing foot to be at an angle like this. You want it to be as horizontal as possible, okay? And you can get a bulky seam jumper, which I've shown before, that helps out with that. It helps to keep that foot nice and level so that you have nice even stitches, because if you don't do that and your foot starts to be angled up, you can also get in there and you can start having jump stitches and whatnot. So I'll show you all kinds of more tips as we go along, because we're going to kind of sew another row. We're going to do sew the row with the actual blocks on here. So we'll do that next row. This will be the 1, 2, 3. This will be the 4th row that we'll put together. And so we're going to go through that. But before we get into all of that, let's go over to our next segment, because I've got some crafting news for you guys, and I want to get that out to you guys. Alrighty, so let's go over to New York area, in Geneva, New York. So anyone in that area, there's still enough time to grab a spot at the Quilting by the Lake, which is a nationally recognized art quilt conference that's happening from July the 20th through August the 1st. It's on a really beautiful campus of Hobart and William Smith colleges, and this is a 2-week event that brings some of the biggest names in quilting in the quilting world. So they'll have some amazing things out there. Now, some of the workshops are already full, but there's still some openings left for some exciting topics like map collage, mono printing, medallion quilts, and just a ton more. Now, you can learn from really top instructors, and you can also connect with fellow artists. You can soak in the inspiration. You can just go there just to support the local community, right? So if you're in the area, or if you're just a short drive away, just go ahead and check out their website for more details. It's quiltingbythelake.org. So that's something that's really neat that you can catch if you're in that area. Okay. So if you're near the area of the beautiful Blue Ridge Mountains this summer, you'll want to put this on your calendar. They've got the Mountain Peacemakers Quilt Show, and that's happening August 1st and 2nd. Now, it's inside an air-conditioned, yes, I said air-conditioned, Burnsville Town Center, and that is in Burnsville, North Carolina. Okay, the show runs every day from 9:30 to 4:30, and it's packed with quilted beauty, guys. They've got large quilt beds to small wall hangings, and they've even got creative fiber art pieces, and those are all done by some talented local hands, which is pretty cool. Visitors will also get to see the Guild's amazing community work, and they've got things like Veteran Quilt and Project Linus projects, which brings comfort to all of the local heroes and children in need. That began about 13 years ago, and the group has gifted over 600 handmade quilts to veterans. Really amazing. They also have a charming little country store, and it's filled with all kinds of sewing goodies, and this year's opportunity quilt is a stunner. It's a petite quilt, and it's called Cabin in the Stars. It's 90 by 104 inches, and it's quilted by one of their members on a long arm machine. So pretty cool for that. So if you're in those areas, go ahead and check it out, because it's pretty nice what they're going to have lined up for you. Alrighty, so that is our crafting news, so that you are aware of what's going on out there. And hopefully you guys are, if you're in the area, you can capture some of these things. And it's just a lot of fun to attend. Alrighty. So now let's get back to our project here. So I've got my little project board filled with all kinds of more goodies. Yes. So what I did is I went to my batting and I cut. Remember, guys, I'm doing 3 of these quilts. So I went ahead and I cut a lot more batting because I'm going to need it for the 2nd and 3rd quilt. And I was doing a lot more cutting yesterday and sewing. So it was kind of fun. I had the embroidery machine going, just doing some more sashing and cornerstones for me. I had me on my cutting table, cutting away on the batting, and then I was sewing also of all of the rows. So lots of fun, lots of things going on here all at once, and we were just kind of banging it out and doing all kinds of things. So lots of fun here. Okay, so now that we have our first 3 rows all lined up here, I'm going to go ahead and get ready for the next row. And so the next row here, let me lay this out here, move this over. For our next row, we have some sashing here, of course, and I did 1 just to start it off. And this is going to be right underneath the reindeer here. And so we're going to have the reindeer legs that are going to be put in place. Of course, we'll have to make sure we line it up. And on here, this is where the ironing really comes into place, because there's so much bulk, and I've tried to take out as much bulk as I can. Even with that, the stitching itself has that bulk, and now I'm going to add 1 more layer because we have the thread that we just used, right? So all of that needs to be folded back here and ironed right down. And you want to do this with a nice hot iron, just really pressing it down. and go ahead and use your clapper, guys. Your clapper is going to be your best friend for this project because it will help to absorb the heat and really kind of make that that little sashing here kind of be more flat. So you want to hold on to those clappers, hit that with the iron, and let it sit with the clapper for a while. It's really going to flatten that out, and it's going to allow it to kind of be a little bit better here as you move along. Because then when you start kind of attaching your row to the previous row, you're going to want to line it up and whatnot, and it just makes it so much easier. But because of all of this bulk, don't just willy-nilly iron it and move on. Really take the time to press it down because, again, so much bulk is going on in there. So you really need to kind of hold that down. And then when you're done with the quilt itself, I still got a lot of, you know, bulk and it's still pulling, but I know I'm going to be adding more rows here. So I, you know, have to kind of move on, but I will go back and press it again. Now, if you're worried about, and maybe you use some vinyl in your project, like some people were suggesting to use some vinyl on the nose, right? Making a little shiny nose. Be very careful if you're using your iron. You know, put that Teflon sheet right on top, right? Or press it from the back is another way you can do it. But do not put your iron directly on any vinyl that you may have put on your project, because some people like to do that to add a little bit of sparkle, and that's great too. You can also get that, you know, shiny little red nose with the little glittery on here. That really helps to make your projects really spark, but you got to be careful when you're ironing it. You want to make sure that you protect it before you hit the iron. Do not put the iron directly on that because you could kind of ruin your project with that. Okay. Let's see. Any questions out there? Oh, Quilting with Harriet said, I love when all my machines are humming along. I feel so productive. So do I. So do I. I really love it. It's just like the little noise of the machine. And, you know, I don't know. You just, it makes you feel good. When you hear everything working and, you know, you're humming along. Of course, I had my little tunes in the background too. So that helps too. Okay. So, so this is where we're at, and we're ready to now put the next sashing in place. So I'm going to grab my next little sashing and I'm going to go ahead and line it up here. We're going to use our pins and we're going to line it up just right, because you do have to line up your top horizontal line to make sure that you got a nice line going across, right? Or, whoops, here we go, going across here. And then you want to make sure vertically that you are not off, right? You want to make sure you're nice and straight going down, capturing the line, and then ending up with a vertical here. Easier said than done, especially when you have all this bulk. So let's see what we did to try to get it right. So I'm going to move this over here. And let me just grab some of my pins. Whoops, I dropped my thread here. Let me grab that right back here. Okay, now we were using pins and we also talked about fork pins. And fork pins really helped with this project because of all the bulk and because these fork pins really secure it in place, right? The fork pins really help out, and let me show you what they look like in case you've never used fork pins before. This is what they look like. They've got this little plastic piece here on the end, and then it looks just like a little fork, right? And so it will capture, especially if you are working on piecing, it will capture two fabrics, right? So you want to capture one fabric from one end, the other fabric from the other end, and then piece it or fork it in there so that it doesn't move. And so it stays nice and secure when you're sewing. And as the feet dogs are pulling the fabric, it can shift. So this fork will then help you to keep things in place so that, you know, you can kind of keep everything exactly where you want it, and then your stitching will hit right on the mark. Okay, so let's do a little bit of that. I'm going to move my clapper out of the way here, and let's just get this back in here. Alrighty, I like to have my things in order before I start. Makes me feel better. Okay, so let's pull these over to the side. I see one little thread that needs to be cut, and it's just gonna bug me to death. So let me grab my little snips here, and I'm gonna have to cut that out. Don't you hate it when you have that little one thread that just didn't get snipped? There we go. Okay, it's a tiny, tiny piece, but I just had to get it out of the way. I don't want to stare at it. Okay, so we've got our sashing here, and we've got our block. We've already put one side here. We'll do these all the exact same way, okay? We're gonna line up our sashing. And remember, when we trimmed off the block and when we trimmed off the sashing, we trimmed at 1/2 inch all the way around, okay? So everything is about 1/2 inch. So if you've cut everything out correctly, you should be able to just line up your pieces at 1/2 inch, right? Just like that. And so we see that here. When I flip it over to the back, I don't see any red. And when I flip it over to the front, I don't see any white, right? It's because it's right on top of each other. But we want to make sure that even though this is nice and straight, we want to make sure that we are capturing the stitch line that's in between the placement line and the tack down line, right? So you want to pin right in between there. So what I'm going to do is just kind of pin it here, and I'm going to poke it across, and I'm going to check my other side. And let me just show you this. Let me grab my pins out of the way here. So let's go over to our desk cam here. Okay, so on the desk cam, I'm going to show you guys what I just did. So all I did was line it up here, right? Got my two fabrics together, lined up, and I went ahead and I poked my first little stitch that I have in between the placement line and the tack down line. And then I poked it to the back, and I'm making sure that I am in between those two stitch lines. So you see where my little fork pin came out. As long as it's in between those two lines, I'm good, because now I know I'm lined up and I'll be able to stitch right in between there. It's a very, very narrow spot, so you do have to make sure that you stitch straight and stay in between that line, because the minute you come off of that line, you are going to have one of these lines showing. Now, yesterday someone gave a really great tip, and I don't know why I don't hear about it more often. And that is, if you use a thread that washes away, then you don't have to really worry about hitting or not hitting that mark in between. Because if you use, no, I'm saying the wrong word. It's not wash away. It's not invisible thread. It is a wash away type of thread. So if you put water to the thread, it will disappear. And that's great for this placement line, because if that happens and you do not stitch straight, the line will disappear, so you will not be able to see it. But as long as all your other things are straight, then you should be fine and you won't see it in the project. And I thought that that was pretty genius. I went ahead and ordered one thread just to try it out. Just got it on Amazon. And yeah, that's it. Thank you. Water soluble thread. I don't know why in my head I just couldn't get that wording right. So it's water soluble thread. And I don't know if, was it you, Sue, who recommended that yesterday? I can't remember who it was, but I think that's genius. You know, if you use that thread and then you just put a little dab of water, that line will disappear. And then you don't have to worry about this white thread showing on your project, right? So if you missed the mark just a little bit, it'll show. And so it's great that you can just, you know, go ahead and do it. And if you missed it a little bit, it'll be okay. And then you can just add some water and that thread will disappear and your project will look perfect. Because sometimes you just can't hit every single mark, right? And so what happened was, you know, it happened to me quite a number of times yesterday, and I had to kind of unravel it with my seam ripper, and then just kind of sew it again until I got it right. And so that could be a little bit frustrating and turn some people off from the project. But yeah, I think that thread is amazing. I'm going to grab a little bit of water. Got a little frog in my throat here. Okay. So let's go ahead and do this, guys. Okay, I'm going to bring my sewing machine over. And again, I'm just using a Brother HC 1850. It's pretty old machine, had it for a very long time. I did my embroidery work with my Brother SC 1900 that is behind me here. I keep that as just the embroidery machine, and I love sewing on it, but it's kind of a pain to kind of switch back and forth and get it on my table here. So that's why I'm just sticking with this one just being the sewing machine and that one being the embroidery machine. And I'm good. Yeah, it's just my little workhorse here. It's a oldie but goodie machine. And so I've done that. So now, one thing also, when you are pinning this, you want to make sure that you're pinning it at a 90-degree angle. You do not want to pin this at a 45-degree angle because then your fabric is going to shift. So make sure that when you do that, you are pinning it and it's got that nice 90-degree angle here. And so I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to bring this to my sewing machine. And of course, I won't have these pins on for very long. It's just to kind of help me line up. Now, I leave it like this. See how it's angled straight up here? I just need this for me to be able to line this up. And because, again, so much bulk, right? We've got so much bulk here. You want to hang on to this and put some pressure down with your fingers, okay? You don't want to just nilly-willy let it go. You want to really press down so that it doesn't move on you. Okay, let me just make sure my foot is positioned in the right place. And here we go. I'm going to go ahead and remove my pin there. And then let's go ahead and get started. Let me drop that needle. I'm going to pick it up and realign just a tad here. Let's drop that again. Okay. And here we go. Now you can take your time as you're doing this. I tend to sew fast. I don't know what it is. I always have a heavy foot when I'm driving. So I guess it's the same thing with the sewing machine. So let's just kind of try to go slow. It's a little awkward for me, but I'm going to try that. And again, I am pressing down with my hand, trying to make sure that my fabric does not move. And now here comes the other pin. And I'm testing it out, just making sure nothing moved and it's still standing at that 90-degree angle. If I see it move to a 45-degree angle, then it's possible that something shifted. And it looks like it's pretty good. So I'm going to go ahead and remove it. And then I'm going to finish this off. And you'll notice right on that tail end, because this piece does not have any batting stabilizer. It's just fabric. It can tend to shift on you a little bit. So try to hold on to those end pieces all the way to the ends, right? Don't just kind of let it go once you see it around here. Hold on to it till it passes the needle. That way you make sure that that part is nice and straight. And so let's see how we did here. Okay, there we are. Nice and straight. We've got a nice continuous line going across. So we've got that nice horizontal line, and then here on the vertical side, we do not want to see any of those placement lines. So let's move this over to the side to see that. And you can see here, no placement lines. And then here's the bottom. Whoops, kind of unthreading my needle there. Uh-oh. There we go. Kind of moving all kinds of things here. So let's go over to our desk cam so I can show this a little better. Okay, so you can see here, there's no placement lines showing. Everything is nice and tucked away. And we've got a nice line going across, right? Let me turn it this way. You guys can see that. There we go. We've got a nice line going across, nice and horizontal, exactly how we want it. And so now we've got our one block here, which is perfect. We've got our block ready to go. And then what I'll do here is I'll look to see, is there any batting that I can cut here? This one's cut pretty well. There's not really too much more I can take off. Maybe perhaps a little bit right here. And then do the same thing on this side. Is there any additional bulk that I can remove? I can probably remove this right here, right? We've got some extra stabilizer here that I can take off. All of that is just going to help with the bulk that's in here. You can open the seam up here and you can try to go ahead and iron that, or you can just leave it to the side. But it's quite bulky here, and you just want to do whatever you need to do to get it to lay as flat as possible. I tried opening the seams. It seemed okay, but I think I'm going to go ahead and try to keep it to the side. So the back of my quilt, no one's going to see it, but you know, I do like my seams to all go the same way, but it's just so much bulk that I think this way actually turned out better for me. So I might just kind of go back and do that. Okay, so now we're ready to add the second block. And the second block is our Santa sleigh here. So we've got the front end of the Santa sleigh. And so you're going to line it up again with your sashing that you just put on. Okay. And then line that up here as much as you can, making sure that you are hitting all the spots. Go ahead and grab that fork pin and push that through. Okay, line this up here. It's kind of really hard to see because again, I use that white thread, but if you followed the thread changes that Designs by Juju gave, you may have a better time lining it up, because you'll have that red thread color and a blue thread color for your a red thread color for your placement line and a blue thread color for your tack down line. And so it makes it probably a little bit easier to see. Barbara says using a trim by George would be best for trimming batting. Yes, Barbara. I don't have one, but if you have a trimmer by George, that's a pretty neat tool. It really does help. And it cleans that up really nicely. So I just need to look into getting one of those. Kind of just holding off getting anything else And I'm going to wait for that Sewing and Quilting Expo. I'll be attending that in Virginia. And I'm bringing my mom along with me. And it's her first time ever going to a Sewing and Quilting Expo. So it's going to be a lot of fun. I'll be meeting my sister there. And the three of us are going to have a great time. And it's going to be really nice to be able to see her reaction when she sees all the different quilts and things. Connie's asking, what kind of backing fabric will you use for this project? Well, I have, it's a green kind of polka dot fabric that's got like Christmassy colors on it, and I'm going to use that. I thought about using a red and white stripe to give it a nice binding piece, but then I saw that green, and I'll show you guys. I'll have to pull it out tomorrow. I haven't cut it out. It's still on the bulk sitting in my on my shelf over there, and I'll pull it down tomorrow so we can start looking at backing and binding, because that's going to be the last piece. I'm hoping to finish this part tomorrow so we can do backing and binding and talk about that tomorrow. But I do have one picked out on my shelf over there. I have another one that could be a contender. I'll have to kind of pull them both out and see what happens. But yeah, hopefully I'm going to have this done because I'm wanting to finish up this row. And then there's one more row of sashing and another row of blocks. And then of course the sashing again. So whole thing really needs to be done by Friday so we can move on. But I'm hoping to get it done even before then. So let's see. Alrighty. Oh, yay. Thumbs up for me, guys. If you like the content, please go ahead and give it a thumbs up. Thanks you, Robin. Appreciate that. Alrighty. So let's go ahead and see if we can do our next one here. I've got this lined up. I've got my pin in place. This one was a little bit harder to pin because I've got some threads here that are kind of in my way. So hopefully I got this right. Not 100% sure, but I guess we'll find out once I, you know, turn it around. But let's see how we do. If not, you always have the nice seam ripper to help you out, right? Got that love-hate relationship, right? Just like the song says. Okay. So let's get in here, lining this up. And you know what, guys? I forgot to turn my little light on. Does that make it a little better for you guys? There we go. So sorry about that. Okay, and so here we go. Now, again, it is bulky, and you do have to kind of help it along a little bit here. Take your time and just kind of try to push it all together. Okay, now let's see what's going on. I'm not liking the way it's standing too much there, but hopefully it'll be okay. We'll have to see. And then again, this tail end, hold on to it until after you pass your needle. All right, let's see how we did here. Nope. My thread didn't want to cut there. There we are. You know what? I ran out of bobbin. No, I have a full bobbin. My bobbin didn't come out right. Look what happened, guys. Let's see if I can get this in here. It did not stitch this bottom part. Something happened with my bobbin, and I saw my bobbin kind of got cut. So let me go back. But it looked like we were hitting it just fine. I'll just have to go back and finish that stitch. But let me just check my bobbin here. Seems like it was okay, but it did some kind of a weird thing there. Not sure what happened. So I'm going to go ahead and just load it again. So let's put that in here. And here we are. And we'll close that up. Okay, let's try that again. For the most part, it did stitch out, but towards the end, for some reason, it just kind of stopped stitching. So we're going to pick it up right around here. And let's put that back down. Bring that needle down. And let's try that again. Oh, hold on. Just realized what happened. It unthreaded. Oh boy. Okay. I see what happened here. Looks like it got loose here. Let me just rethread on the top. Maybe it wasn't the bobbin. I thought it was the bobbin. I could have swore I saw the bobbin come off. But it was actually my upper thread. So I just need to rethread here, guys. Just give me 1 minute. Things just happen, right? Especially when you're live. And so I grabbed it here. Here we go. Okay. I like to put my finger in here to make it a little easier. There we go. Alrighty. We're good. We're back in business. Okay. Let's go back to that little area we've got to restitch here. Okay. It must have been when I pulled earlier. I probably loosened it. And so it came off. That's okay. Not a big deal. So we're about right around here. So I'll come back here, back up a little bit, bring down that presser foot, and we're going to go nice and straight in between these two lines. Can't stress that enough to you guys. Okay. So here we are. Again, making sure this last part goes through nice and even. All right, I think we're good now. There we are. Let me grab my scissors. I'm going to cut this really long piece of thread to get that out of the way. All right. Okay, let's take a look. Here we are. Oh, I keep forgetting about the desk cam. We've got to use the desk cam, right? Okay, let's see here. There we are. Cannot see any of this line here. And we've got our nice straight vertical as well as horizontal. So the fork pins really do help to keep things in place. And again, it's the bulk. It's all about the bulk that's on here. So now we do have to put another sashing, and then we'll repeat with another block, and we'll continue the same thing over and over again, just putting the rest of this together. And then once I'm done with this, we're going to try to then stitch it on and add it to our existing row that we have and continue to build this out. So I want to try to keep working on this assembly. Let's see how far I can get. Hopefully I don't have to work late today. So I'll be able to keep working on this tonight. And then tomorrow I'm hoping to just talk about the backing fabric, do some selections from there, and then look at binding as well. And we'll see what little hints they have on the instructions as well. We'll go through that. Okay, any questions, please let me know, or just email me. You can do that as well, and I'll be more than happy to help out. Alrighty, let's see. I'm going to switch us over to, oh, one more question. Hold on. Cindy says, I ordered the fork pins from your Amazon. Oh, thank you, Cindy. Thank you so much. I really appreciate that, guys. Yeah, all of the supplies that I'm using for for this project, we're trying to be really good at this. I know in the beginning we were just, I would never put stuff there. I would feel bad, but you know, I really want you guys to really be engaged and really love this channel. And the only way to do that is for me to continue to kind of build things where you guys can support me as well, so we can get bigger and better things here. And then we can just continue to learn. So I really appreciate if you use our links, if you buy the coffee thing, you know, all of that stuff really does help. And I really appreciate that. I think it's wonderful that you guys support me, and I really makes me happy to know that you guys really like the content. So, okay, so before we get into some more things, I want to head over to the inspirational quote. Connie says, Thank you for teaching with such care. Oh, keeping up with you is easy, clear, and exact. Oh, thank you, Connie. You know, I try to do everything step by step, and I really try to plan it out and think of, you know, what would I ask if someone was teaching this to me, and where would I struggle? Especially if you're a new person who just started embroidering or sewing and things like that. There's these little tiny little tips that sometimes people just fly by, just thinking you know about this already, so they don't touch upon these things. And I try to capture each and every one of those things, because for someone who's just starting, or, you know, just learning a new technique, you know, it really helps to kind of go through each one of these things. Leslie says she's new to the chat. Awesome. Hey, Leslie, you're really enjoying this step-by-step direction. I get very frustrated at this stage of the project. Yes, lesson learned. Slow down. Yes. Thanks from North Carolina. Well, I'm glad I can help. And guys, if you ever have questions about anything, please just reach out to me. I check my email all the time, read the comments, things like that. So just reach out to me and I'll help out any way I can. But you know, we all make mistakes and things when we're sewing. Nothing is exactly perfect. I don't have 20 people sewing things for me and doing things. So, you know, mistakes and all, I'm going to show it to you guys. Alrighty, so let's head over to our inspirational quote of the day, shall we? Alrighty. So today's quote of the day is, "With each block sewn together, the quilt grows and begins to take shape, teaching patience and the joy of progress." And that's exactly what we're doing today. You know, each block one by one, being very patient and just trying to share all the tips and tricks that I can with you guys. So I hope you guys really love it. Alrighty, that is about all I had for today, and I'm just going to continue to do the same steps over and over again and see how far I can get. I will see you guys tomorrow. If you guys can join our Facebook group, we like to post all kinds of pictures on our projects and help each other out there. So that's another awesome place to get some support. Don't forget to hit the like button if you guys like the content, and consider subscribing. Half of you guys out there are not subscribed. Let's go ahead and hit that subscribe button, because we're trying to get to 10,000 subscribers. And I'm hoping that you guys can help me with that. Alrighty, I like to support all kinds of YouTubers that are out there. And we know that there's one coming up, and she's called Power Tools with Thread. Her name is Becky, and she should be coming up really shortly. So go ahead and let's support her as well. Thank you guys all for tuning in today. I hope you have a fantastic day, and I hope to be crafting with you soon. Bye, everyone.
So long for now, so long. Glad you stayed a while. Hope you liked my crafting style. Hope I left you with a smile. By now, keep your mind and space clutter-free. Hope your day is bright as can be. So long, my friends, till we craft once again. Bye now, stay crafting. See you tomorrow. So long, my friends, till we craft once again.